Hi everybody, it's me, Teresa Perrin, and I wanted to do a very important update regarding Mullen and what's going on. We have the special shareholders meeting that takes place tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time, so that would be 2 p.m. if you're on the East Coast. Guys, there has been a lot going on that we need to discuss in this video, and potentially this meeting could actually either ignite a dump or ignite the start of a squeeze. Let's see what happens, but let's talk about what on earth is going on and why it could lead to this catalyst, and another date to keep in mind in case it doesn't actually happen tomorrow. And guys, just in case you're wondering why Mullen shares have been down, in my honest opinion, it was the earnings. Although, to be perfectly honest, I don't know why anybody would have expected anything otherwise, because we are not yet profitable. Now, I will say that if you read the earnings report, it is a tad bit scary when you start reading all the risks of investing in Mullen. So if you are invested in Mullen, you need to realize that this is a very high risk play because it is not yet a profitable company. And the reality of the situation is, who knows what's going to happen? They could go bankrupt and not produce anything. I mean, that is a risk. And I'm not saying this to be a fearmonger or anything else. I'm invested in Mullen, but I know that there's a risk and, high risk, potentially high reward. But I also know that this is something that you should not have your entire portfolio in. You have to realize and manage your risk appropriately, because let me tell you something, things can blow up. Look at what happened to Party today. So just be cautious and don't overextend yourself, and don't ever put all your eggs in one basket. That's my personal take on it. But let's get started. And please remember, nothing I say here is financial advice, and I'm going to give you my personal interpretation of the filings. That doesn't mean that it's correct, but based on what I'm reading from other articles that I'm seeing and based on the filings themselves, I'm going to give you my opinion and interpretation of them and why I think that this is happening and what you need to be aware of. So let's get into it. If you could smash that like button for me, because it helps with the algorithm and spreads the word to others. Thank you. And if you haven't voted yet, all right, guys, so let's start with January 17th. This article comes out from Investor Place, and it's a hit piece on Mullen. It's telling you to brace yourself for a reverse stock split. And it's saying that the vote will occur at the special meeting this week on January 19th, which is tomorrow, where there is a proposal for a reverse stock split, and that they're blaming this for the reason that Mullen gapped down. Guys, 100%, that has nothing to do with the reason. So I don't know where this person is coming from, but I can tell you straight out, my interpretation of the reason it gapped down is because we got earnings on Friday. So I don't think this investor did their DD, and clearly earnings were not good. So whatever, it is not because of a vote on a reverse stock split. And we're going to continue into that because the reverse stock split, I believe, is off the table for the time being. Now, I cannot 100% guarantee that, but I'm going to show you why I think that. So it said that Mullen attempted to secure approval for a reverse split on December 23rd. However, the effort failed because of lack of a quorum, which is why the meeting was, ended like literally within 2 minutes. It was like waiting for nothing. But anyways, that happened on December 23rd. And most of the shares that were voted supported the proposal. However, the majority abstained from voting. So that means that people just didn't vote. Now, currently, Mullen, oh wait, did I skip to something else? One sec. All right, so it says, this is very important because barring approval for a 180-day extension, Mullen has until March 6th to get its share price above $1 or face delisting. Now, guys, if they do not do it by March 6th, they have a 180-day extension that they can file. So Obviously, if, we do not get it, I would expect that Mullen is going to file that and try to get it extended, because a lot of companies are facing this right now. And there's something I want to point out, because there is actually some good information in this article. And that would be that a reverse stock split is neither good nor bad. At the end of the day, the total value held among individual stakeholders of Mullen will remain the same. However, it's the problem if the market at large perceives Mullen is only engaging in a reverse split to cynically stay on board the NASDAQ while simultaneously papering over its fiscal deficiencies, and the end result could be unfavorable. Now, what this means is that if Mullen does a reverse stock split and continues to dilute and, basically keep causing pain to shareholders, it's not going to be good for Mullen. Now, however, if Mullen does a reverse stock split, does not dilute, shows increased orders, shows, a lot of positive things, or if they do dilute, but they dilute with cause, not because Mitchery wants, a huge bonus and stock and everything else that he's been getting. He needs to focus and tamper down and make this company profitable, and then he can reap the benefits. But you need to wait till the company's profitable before you start giving yourself all these huge stock, options that he's clearly not hesitating to use, guys. So yes, that I do kind of have a problem with. I mean, I can see where he'd need some. It is part of his salary. But do I think it's extensive? Yes. And do I personally think that during this phase that, he should really be focusing on shareholder value and trying to get people wanting to invest in this company? However, that being said, Eddie Pan came out today in Investor Place as well and put out this article saying, Mullen stock alert. Why are investors suing Mullen Automotive? Now, at first look, you think, oh, God, another hit piece on Mullen, right? But if you start to read it, in my opinion, it's facts of what's going on, and it's kind of gives you some hope in here. It says, both of the lawsuits allege that the number of common stock issued and outstanding as of the annual meeting record date was 477.51 million. Based on this share count, and when considered separately as a class, the proposal to increase authorized shares at the 2022 annual meeting should not have been passed. The 2022 annual meeting occurred on July 26th. Mullen received the two lawsuits and responded explaining it does not believe that the move to increase authorized shares was either invalid or ineffective. However, to resolve any uncertainty, the company is pursuing actions to ratify the 2022 certificate amendment through the filing of a validation proceeding with the Delaware Court of Chancery. Pursuant to Section 205 of the Delaware General Corporate Law, Section 205 permits the Court of Chancery in its discretion to ratify and validate potentially defective acts. So, now when they go to court, they have to figure out if the share count is valid. Now, that's very important because of what I'm about to say to you and why I think that the reverse split is going to be on hold, okay? So listen for just another minute. Court of Chancery is ultimately in charge of siding with Mullen or the class action filers. Now, the court scheduled a hearing for January 23rd. So let's be very clear. Although we could see some positive momentum start to come into Mullen after tomorrow, I think a lot of it's going to depend on what happens in court on the 23rd as well. So, the end of this week into next week could be very, very bullish or bearish for shareholders, and it's important to know that. Personally, I think we may see a move to the upside on the fact that I don't think that they can enact a reverse split, at least not at this shareholder meeting, because of the share count not necessarily being appropriate. So the plaintiff also argues that Mullen sought to change its state of incorporation to Maryland to protect its board of directors from lawsuits. Guys, we talked about this back then, and Mullen has decided not to pursue that at this time. However, that could have been exactly the reason why they wanted to change the incorporation. They will no longer file the amendment to its certificate of incorporation. That means it will no longer pursue proposal number 1 at its January 19th meeting, which seeks to enact a reverse stock split in a range between 1 for 2 and 1 for 25. It appears that Mullen will also not file for proposal number 2, which seeks to increase authorized common stock to $5 billion from $1.75 billion. Guys, this news is extremely bullish, and if Eddie Pan is correct, then that means that there will be no vote for a reverse stock split tomorrow and no vote to increase the shares. So, now, I like the sounds of that, and I hope that it's correct. And my thought behind that, because I did go back and review the filings for myself to make sure what I was hearing and seeing are correct. So you can go back and you can look, and I actually missed this because I was looking at the earnings and just skimmed it at first and said, oh, it's just an update to that, and didn't think much of it, but should have read it more carefully, because if you go back to January 13th, you're going to see 2 filings. You're going to see the earnings report, and then you'll see this. And you will see right here, the company intends to proceed with the as adjourned special meeting January 19th, tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time. However, the company will not proceed to file the amendment to the company's certificate of incorporation contemplated by certain matters to be voted on at the special meeting, pending further order of the Court of Chancery. The company's description of its capital structure in the proxy statement assumes that the 2022 certificate amendment was validly effectuated. The accuracy of the company's description of its capital structure will be confirmed if the Court of Chancery ratifies and validates the 2022 certificate amendment. So, I think that they need to get the Court of Chancery to say that the amount of shares currently that they have on board is okay and it is valid before they can affect a reverse stock split, or before they could, essentially why even vote right now, because the total number of shares could be completely off, which would make it invalid, right? So that being said, I think that you're going to find out when they have this meeting that they adjourn it. And I think that they're going to wait until what's said at January 23rd in the court. And guys, I'm not sure excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm exhausted. I'm not sure what is going to happen if they come out on the 23rd and say that those shares were never voted for and authorized. That's going to create quite an issue, and I'm not sure how they would go about recovering that. And that could potentially lead to a huge can of worms for Mullen, because what do they do with those shares? They need funding. They wouldn't be able to buy them back. They don't have a lot of cash. So I'm not quite sure what that would do. So as much as this seems like potentially good news for us regarding a reverse stock split, it could be bad news unless we quickly get a run that gets us out of this trouble, that we don't need to affect a reverse stock split. But guys, I don't know. I don't want to think too deeply about it till I see a filing. For now, just know that I do not think that we can vote on those, or even if we do vote, I don't think he can affect it unless the certificate is valid. So maybe he's still going to hold the vote, but put it on hold until he gets the results. That's a potential too. Anyways, it should be interesting to see what transpires over the next couple days. And while I have you here, real quickly, if you're interested, here is an update. Currently, our volume has been less than normal, 194.44 million. Normally we trade 228.94 million, and we were down 6.62% today. Right now, the share count showing we have a free float of 1.47 billion with 1.7 billion shares outstanding. That is a huge float, as I'm sure you're aware. And it is showing a bearish signal currently. We got a bunch 2 days ago of bearish signals. Today we did go down further, but it's showing a short-term decline followed by a medium move to the upside, which I think could come as early as starting tomorrow and into next week, depending on what happens as a result of that court case. Now, just so you're aware, institutions only own 4.96% of Mullen, corporations own 5.25%, insiders own 8.41%, and others, meaning you and I, own 81.39%. Now, notice insiders increased their position by 1.23% in the past month. I don't think David's been buying with his own accord, so that means he's been granting himself and maybe others stock, just so you're aware. And again, I am a shareholder of Mullen, so do not take this the wrong way, but I look at all angles of things, and I've said it from the beginning. There are many things I don't like in Mullen, but I see a potential to make money or lose money. It depends how you look at it, right? All right, so short term, the short interest is 13.8%. And currently they have 1,500,000 shares available to short. Don't be shocked if they borrow them all up tomorrow and intend to have a short attack after that meeting, even if it's bullish. I wouldn't put it past them. The cost to borrow is 14.56%. And currently they've been shorting between 44.51 and 54.09% in the dark pool. Today, 49.22%. Excuse me, I need to go to bed. I'm sorry, but anyways, my point is that they're controlling the price by shorting this. I'm sorry, I missed 44.51. Yeah, because almost every day, guys, it's very close to 50% or slightly over, and that's how they're able to drive the price down on Mullen. But on a positive note, failure to delivers are starting to come into the works. Towards the end of the month, guys, look at this. The last day of the month, we had 4,447,599 failure to delivers. If anything starts to drive the price of Mullen to the upside, these could come into play and they could get whacked and whacked hard. So let's hope that happens, and let's hope we could get a nice little short squeeze going in Mullen. I'd love to see it. It's going to be interesting the next couple of days, so stay alert and keep your eye on Mullen and the prize. But as far as it stands right now, guys, I don't think that he can affect a reverse stock split due to the share count being in question. And that's the main point of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.